morning. Welcome to All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church, a liberal faith tradition in Braintree, Massachusetts since 1833. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of all persons as we engage in an ongoing search for truth and meaning. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you inhabit your body, and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome into the life of this beloved community. My name is Diane Doucette, and it is my pleasure to be your service associate this morning. If you are visiting us for the first time or would like to reach out to you, please click on the link provided in the chat to submit a connection card, and we will be happy to follow up with you. Everyone will remain muted during the service unless you wish to participate in the sharing of joys and concerns, at which time you may raise your hand and unmute your mic when we call you by name. Our services are recorded except for your shared joys and concerns and posted on YouTube channel weekly. After the service, everyone is invited to stay online to attend our virtual coffee hour. Our minister, the Reverend Beau Rivers, will be leading our service today. We light our chalice in honor of our ancestors, mindful that we drink from wells we did not dig. We sit in the shade beneath trees we did not plant. We build our futures on foundations we did not lay. We warm ourselves by fires we did not light. Together, we are more than any one person could ever be. Together, we build across generations. Together, we renew our hope and faith in the life that is yet to unfold. Together, we can heed the call to a ministry of care and justice. May we open this light and rich possibilities it brings us. We light this green candle to affirm our commitment to caring for the planet that is our home. Please join me in reading our covenant as the words appear on your screen. We covenant to create a caring, affirming, and inclusive community that invites us to become our best selves.
Our opening words this morning are by Marta Valentin. In gatherings, we are stirred like the leaves of the fall season, rustling around sacred trees, tossed hither and yon, until we come to rest together, quietly, softly. We come together to gather strength from each other. We come to give strength to each other. We come to ask for strength from the spirit of all that is and is not. When our hearts sing or when they frown, it is the way of compassion telling us to give. It is the way of peace telling us to share our gifts. For we are happiest and most powerful when love is made apparent in and through us. Blessed be. Our opening hymn is number 360, Here We Have Gathered.
Gathered side by side.
As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant to affirm and promote our 7 principles within a living tradition that draws upon the wisdom and spirituality of our 6 sources. Among these sources are the spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions that celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. Today we will learn about and celebrate the pagan tradition called Sowen, or All Hallows Eve. To create sacred space in the pagan and earth-based traditions, we begin by calling the 4 directions. Each direction represents one of the 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water, and the cycles of the earth, or the 4 seasons, and their life-giving properties. This morning we'll be calling the directions from Massachusetts, Florida, and California.
Spirit of the North, element of earth, season of winter, grant us your endurance, your strength.
Spirit of the East, element of air, season of spring. Grant us your creativity and your intuition.
Spirit of the South, element fire, season of summer. Grant us your passion, your energy.
Spirit of the West, element of water, season of autumn, grant us your empathy, your emotion.
The circle is cast, and the ritual's begun. Each week here at All Souls, we take time to share our important joys and concerns, so all of us might help carry the burden and join in the celebration. If you wish to acknowledge a sorrow or joy from your heart, I invite you to raise your hand and unmute your mic when we call you by name. Or you may enter your joy or concern in the chat, and someone will read it aloud for you. And while you are speaking, I will drop a gem into the vase, which represents the embrace of our communal life. Spirit of love, we lift up those who are caregivers of loved ones who are ill, making it possible for them to age gracefully in their homes. Wrap those who are in rehab facilities, nursing homes, hospitals, or hospice services who are struggling with illness and plans of care and treatment. And we have a mixed appreciation and concern for maple trees that gently kiss our homes. And we give thanks for the blessings of things lost that have been found. May we, who have an abundance of blessings, reach out to those in need of our love and care. Spirit of life, whom we know best in our own loving and being loved, help us to know who we are, to see our place in the history of the earth and in the family of things. Help us to see that we are part of all that ever was, our grandmother's prayers, our grandfather's dreamings, our mother's courage, and our father's hope. In our bones lies the calcium of antediluvian creatures. In our veins course the water of the seas. We are part of all that ever was born of this earth, riders upon a cosmic ocean. We're not separate from nature. We are nature, part of the same spirit that turns scales into feathers and birdsong into speech. We live by the sun We move by the stars, we eat from the earth, and we drink from the rain. Great Spirit, help us to know who we are and fill us with such love for this holy creation and gratitude for this awesome gift we call living, that we might claim our inheritance and live out our calling to bless the world and each other with our care. May it be so. And now for all that is spoken and unspoken, let us take a moment of silence.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of the ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of the ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We are sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreams. We are the breath of the ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
Sowen is the Gaelic or Irish word for the month of November, which marks the beginning of winter. It is a time of completion when all the seeds sown in spring that bore fruit in summer are harvested in the fall to sustain us through the winter. It is the end of the growing season when the land lays barren and the leaves begin to fall. When we look at nature, it's easy to see why Samhain or autumn is referred to as the season of death. But nature also tells us that with every ending, there is a new beginning. That is why Sowen is also known as the Pagan New Year. The festival of Sowen then celebrates the harvest and the cycle of death and rebirth. Traditionally, Sowen is celebrated from sunset on the 31st of October to sunset on the 1st of November. Sowen rituals include bonfires, healing, dancing, thanksgiving, and honoring our ancestors. It is considered a liminal time when the veil between life and death grows thin. There are many other traditions and cultures that celebrate the harvest and the season of death. In the Wiccan tradition, it is believed that the god of light descends into the underworld on Samhain and opens the doorway to the spirit world. Food from the harvest is set out to welcome the ancestors and commune with loved ones. Those who believe demons roam the earth on Samhain set out food to placate them. And over time, people began to dress up as the dead, to claim the food for themselves. Sometimes they would perform antics or tricks in exchange for food and drink. This practice has evolved into what we in the US now know as Halloween, or All Hallows Eve, or trick or treat. In Mexico, the festival of Samhain is known as El Día de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead. Christians also commemorate the dead at this time of year on the days of All Saints and All Souls. In medieval times, the church approved the custom of souling as a Christian alternative to Samhain, and no doubt to help convert some of the pagans. Souling was a practice among children and the poor, who would go from door to door to pray for the soul of someone who had died, in exchange for food or soul cake. The cakes were usually filled with sweet spices and raisins and were marked with a cross before baking to indicate they were alms for the poor. Traditions such as these happen all around the world, and they recall us to the need to be part of the whole, to feel a connection with those who have gone before. As the wheel of the year turns toward winter, we enter a time of reflection and communion, grateful for the bountiful harvest of food and the collective wisdom of our ancestors who sustain and guide us into the future. May it be so. To honor our ancestors this morning, everyone was invited to send in photos of deceased loved ones who continue to guide and inspire us on life's journey. But before we play that video for you, which Alicia graciously created for us, we want to give special love and care to anyone whose loved one has died in the past year. The first year after a death is a special time of grief and change. If you have lost a loved one this year, I invite you to raise your hand and unmute your mic when we call on you and tell us your loved one's name. Or you may enter it in the chat and we will read it aloud for you. I also want to say the names of members and friends of the congregation who have died this past year. Judy Ranney, Bill Morrell, and Phyllis Dugan. Oh, I see from Sandra, Donna Lingley. Thank you, Sandra. If you are unable to submit a digital photo for today's service, I invite you to write the name of your loved ones in the chat, and we'll read it aloud for you after the video.
Dona nobis pacem
Thank you, Alicia. That was beautiful. Are there any names to be read aloud in the chat?
Yep. So we have Donna, who you mentioned, Donna Lingley. And we also have Kathy McNeil, who's Lisa Howe and Liz Regan's cousin. We have David McLean, I'm sorry, and Michelle King. Maureen Crimmins wanted them mentioned. And that's the list that we have so far.
Thank you. You are still with us. In the struggles we choose for ourselves, in the ways we move forward in our lives and bring our world forward with us. It is right to remember the names of those who gave us strength in this choice of living. It is right to name the power of hard lives well lived. We share a history with those lives. We belong to the same motion. They too were strengthened by what had gone before. They too were drawn on by the vision of what might come to be. Those who lived before us, who struggled for justice and suffered injustice before us, have not melted into the dust and have not disappeared. They are with us still. The lives they lived hold us steady. Their words remind us and call us back to ourselves. Their courage and love evoke our own. We, the living, carry them with us. We are their voices, their hands, and their hearts. We take them with us, and with them choose the deeper path of living. May it be so. We lift up all the hearts who are with us today and who are with us in spirit. Each week we have an opportunity to give thanks for the many blessings we have received in our lives and in our church community. Our offering is a chance to give back in support of the work and outreach of our church. To submit your offering electronically, you may follow the link in the chat, or you may send it by mail to All Souls Church at 196 Elm Street in Braintree, Massachusetts. At this time, our morning offering will be given and received. Please join Linda and me in our responsive reading as the words appear on your screen. We need one another when we mourn and would be comforted.
We need one another and afraid.
We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and need to be recalled to our best selves.
We need one another when we would accomplish some great purpose and cannot do it alone.
We need one another in the hour of success, when we look for someone to share our triumphs.
We need one another in the hour of defeat, when with encouragement we might endure and stand again.
We need one another when we come to die and would have gentle hands prepare us for the journey.
All of our lives we need, and others are in need of us.
There's a story about a child who was lost in the woods. As the sun begins to set, the child becomes especially worried because they're afraid of the dark. And when night comes, the child is so frightened, all they can do is sit on a log and cry, until they hear a voice of a tiny mole poking its head out of the earth. "What are you making so much noise for?" asks the mole. When the child explains they are lost, the mole suggests they cry elsewhere so he can go back to sleep. Mole then promptly disappears back into the earth. Soon after, the child hears another voice that belongs to Owl, who offers to help the child get home. Soon the child stops crying and begins to notice their surroundings as they walk through the forest together. Along the way, the child notices a flower that they had never seen before, and Owl explains how some flowers, like evening primrose, moonflowers, and night gladiolas, only bloom at night. And as they continue on their journey, Owl and the child witness baby sea turtles as they hatch on the beach and make their way to the sea. Owl explains they can only find their way at night when the moonlight reflects on the water, because the sunlight is too bright for them to see. When the child arrives safely home, they are very tired, but this time, instead of turning on the nightlight, they get into bed, pull up the covers, and let the comforting arms of the darkness soothe them to sleep. There are times in our lives when we may feel like a child lost in the woods, until someone like Owl reaches out to us and helps us find our way home. Sometimes when we feel frightened or alone, we cannot see the forest for the trees, until someone sits beside us to calm our fears. Only then are we able to see the moonflower of possibilities bloom before our very eyes. When I was an intern living on $6,000 a year, I discovered I had a broken water main on my property in Maine. The repair would cost $3,000, and without gainful employment, my financial resources had been depleted in seminary. And with years of school loans, my debt-to-income ratio made it impossible to get a bank loan. When I shared this news over the phone with a friend, she quietly listened and later texted me to say she had looked at her finances and wanted to give me $100 toward the repair. Now, on the face of it, $100 would not pay for the repair, but it wasn't the dollar amount that saved me. It was the powerful assurance in her gesture that I was not alone. And with that assurance, I was less frightened, able to think more clearly and consider new creative options. And I'm happy to say that I was able to pay for that repair with my own earnings. I was like the child lost in the woods. She was my owl, and an advance on my wages was the bloom of a moonflower in the dark forest. There's another interesting aspect about this story, about being lost. In the child's deepest moment of despair, they suddenly hear a voice that promises to guide them. Now, some people might have this experience in a dream. when they're asleep or in a vision, or when they pray or meditate or gaze upon a fire or look up at the stars. I remember when my father died, how alone and frightened my mother felt without him after having shared a lifetime together. One day when she visited his gravestone at the cemetery, she wandered off broken-hearted among the other headstones and came upon a statue of an angel she had never seen before. She was so taken by it that it seemed to speak to her as if it were alive. And in the presence of this angel, her spirit lightened and she began to feel a renewed sense of hope and purpose. It was such a turning point in her grief. She was no longer frightened and was able to move forward with confidence in her own life. When she returned to the cemetery the next day to show the statue to a relative, she couldn't find it. It seems it was meant just for her. Another interesting aspect about being lost in the woods is we are free to take or leave the wisdom offered to us to help us get home. When my mother was dying, I remember a conversation my youngest brother had with her in an effort to help her cross over. He reminded her to look for the angel she had seen in the cemetery those many years ago. She looked up at him, surprised, and said, "Oh yeah, I've seen one of those." So my brother asked, "What did the angel tell you?" He said, "Follow me." And I told him, "I'm not ready yet." And then, knowing her all too well, my brother asked, "So Ma, how many times has the angel come to see you?" With her eyes askance and a mischievous look on her face, she raised 3 fingers, confident she had cheated death. Who could argue with her desire to stay? Friends, whether the angels in our lives are the very real members and friends of this congregation or are made of stone, whether they touch our lives physically, emotionally, or spiritually, may it be known unto you as the wheel of the year turns this Sowen Eve that you are not alone. Blessed be.
Spirit of the West, element of water, season of autumn, we thank you for your soothing presence this hour. Stay if you will, go if you must, farewell and blessed be.
Spirit of the South, element of fire, season of summer. We thank you for your energetic presence for this hour. Stay if you will, go if you must. Farewell and blessed be.
Spirit of the East, element of air, season of spring. We thank you for your whispered presence here this hour. Stay if you will, go if you must. Farewell and blessed be.
Spirit of the North, element of earth, season of winter, we thank you for your solid presence this hour. Stay if you will, go if you must. Farewell and blessed be.
We laugh, we cry, we live, we die, we dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need those friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a need to be together. We have our hearts to give, we have our thoughts to receive, and we believe that sharing is an answer.
We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the grace of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here to make sense of what we find. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a joy being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see, even to question truly is an answer.
May the ancestors deliver blessings on you and yours. May the new year bear great fruits for you. May your granted wishes be as many as the seeds of a pomegranate. And may the slide into darkness bring you light. May the memories of what has been keep you strong for what is to be. And may this Sowen cleanse your heart, your soul, and your mind. May the turning of the year bring you strength and joy. Blessed Sowen to all. The circle is open but unbroken. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. As we extinguish the flame of this chalice, may each of us carry its light into every day of our lives. Blessed be.
With special thanks to our participants in this morning's service on screen. Thank you. Our announcements, upcoming announcements. Connection Circle on Zoom meets Monday at 11 to 1 at 3:30. Open conversation, no predetermined topic. And also on Friday at 10 a.m. Topic is current events. Sunday service and music committee meeting on Zoom will be 6:30 p.m. on Monday, November 1st, tomorrow. Book discussion group will meet on Zoom 7 p.m. Tuesday, November 2nd, and our book is Never Caught by Erica Armstrong Dunbar. The Dickens festival season is upon us, and apple pies are to be assembled and baked at 9:30 a.m. Monday, November 15th. Contact for more information. I believe Mary has some announcements to make. Mary, do you have anything?
I do. I just wanted, there's other things on the Dickens season agenda that I want to lift up in addition to baking the pies. We are asking people to bake cookies, Toll House or sugar cookies, and Lynn Steiner is the contact for that. We are going to organize a celebration on Zoom to close the Dickens season, and that will be on December 18th. And Sandra Lingley is your contact for that. She's hoping to put together our local talent within our community to make a fun celebration to close the season. In addition, we are asking if people would donate money to the effort to buy the apple pie ingredients. If you know, in other years we have asked people to donate apples and pie crust and stuff, but it'd be easier if you just could write us a check for $30, send it to the church, and we will use that money to buy all the ingredients that we need. If there are professionals and merchants in your life, please approach them to sponsor Dickens, and I will be sending by email a letter that you can use to invite them to sponsor. And tell your family and friends about the celebration, about the season, and invite them to come to the website, which is still under construction, but when it's done, people will be able to go to the church website and then link up to the Dickens website. They'll have all the information about raffle prizes and how to get baked goods and everything that's going on. So any questions? Tom and Roger are steering this effort.
And now you're invited to stay on screen for our virtual coffee hour. Thank you for being with us this morning and have a great week.